Hello, and welcome to another episode of Spillin' the Tea. I'm Laura Perilla.
And I'm Greg Barton, and we have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Wielbruda-Mayhew.
So glad to have you with us here today.
I am happy to be here.
So we have a very exciting episode. It's jam-packed with goodies. We've got 2 teas to review, and then Jonathan's got some tea for us about winter intercession.
Ah, that sounds great.
All right, so our first tea that we have, Greg, this was your pick?
Yeah, so this is a mango flavored black tea. It's black tea leaves with marigold blossoms and a mango flavoring. And so this is from the Oliver Pluff and Company Tea Company out of Charleston, South Carolina. And their sort of claim to fame is they say that they source their teas from some of the same original companies that the tea came from that was dumped into Boston Harbor.
Oh, okay.
So
So there's a Boston connection to both of our teas, which I'll explain when we get to mine.
I won't try to do a Boston accent, I promise.
You're not gonna go pack the cat?
Nah,
you see, you take the R's away for some things, but you add them for
You
others.
add extra ones for other things, and I haven't
that's
quite
the
figured it out.
law of conservation of syllables, right?
Right.
All right, so our brewing instructions for a black tea. What were the instructions?
So this tea, partly because of the mango flavoring, it said 195 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So just under boiling. And I think because sometimes if you go too hot, some of the volatile stuff in the flavorings will go out of the tea. And so the tea won't have quite as good a flavor, like the mango flavor could suffer if you brew it a little too hot. And so
Okay.
they have it down just a little bit below boiling. And it says for 3 to 5 minutes. One of the dangers with black tea is brewing for too long because it brings out bitterness in the tea if you steep it for too long. So I think we're just about ready to try the mango tea. The other thing I'm going to say about the mango tea and other fruity teas is that sometimes they'll smell really good and you'll smell the fruit flavor and you feel like you don't taste it quite as much. But if you add even just a tiny bit of sweetener to it, it really brings the flavor out. So depending on what kind of sweetener you might like, a little bit of sugar, even a quarter or a half teaspoon of sugar, or like the tiniest bit of stevia if you go for that kind of thing. Or again, if you like other other types of sweeteners that don't have any sugar in them, you might try one of those as well.
Greg, I'll say
Stevia is
that
for
was
people
exactly
with very different taste buds.
What is your experience,
that
Jonathan?
was exactly my experience. It smelled so fruity. And then I took a little taste and it just wasn't there yet. So I've let the sugar settle in a little bit. I didn't put very much sugar in at all, and it did in fact enhance the mango flavor.
I
Yeah.
I think that really does do the trick. So with a number of flavored teas,
Yeah, and without the sugar, the mango flavor to my nose is coming up peach
mm,
instead of mango.
It's reminding me of the Starbucks passion fruit
A little bit.
Tazo tea,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I need to drink ice cold with as much sugar in the raw on the bottom as possible. That you almost
On
have
the
to eat it
bottom.
like boba.
so by the time you get to the bottom, it's very sweet.
Absolutely.
You know, Jonathan, you're making me think of that new Hozier song. You're too sweet for me.
I haven't heard it.
I really like this though. This is tasty as it is.
I I think it's a good tea. I think most of the Oliver Pluff teas, well, I think all of them that I've tried have been very good.
I think
So I
that
see
the
everyone's mug.
yeah, okay. So Jonathan, you can go first since you brought it up. What's in
So
what is your mug?
this is my Westmoreland mug. I got it for doing the new faculty orientation. I was a mentor recently, and I like to think that Dr. Bishop picked these out herself. So this is, a little token of the school's appreciation. I like
Yeah.
to keep it with me. And since we are going to do a second tea later, I will have a second mug that is my no one else can use except me mug. It's a quote from Twin Peaks, black as midnight on a moonless night. Blasphemy, I'm using a coffee mug for tea. But those are and then my background's Twin Peaks as well, so it kind of goes with the theme of the desk area here. That's enough about my mugs. What about yours?
All right, Greg, what's your mug?
So my one of my mugs is, oh, it's just a white mug. And the other mug is actually a carbon mug, an American Chemical Society mug, a carbon mug. And on the other side, it says, Happy 6th anniversary, for a 6th anniversary of being an ACS member. And so the atomic number of carbon is 6. And
So
so
the background of that image looked kind of like graphene to me. Do you think that might be
it's a
what that is?
it's a single layer of carbon. It looks like a very big sheet. It doesn't look like there are multiple sheets stacked on top of each other.
Okay,
It would
so it
be
would be like a
graphite. So
single
it would
sheet of,
be graphene, I believe, because one sheet is considered a graphene. And so, initially looking at it, I would think graphite, but it doesn't show additional layers. So
okay.
probably graphene is correct.
Yeah, and then I have my trusty mushroom and snail mug. For those of you who may not know or may not remember, my first job was in the mollusk department at the Carnegie Museum, and my job was finding and cataloging snail specimens. So I I have a little soft, squishy spot in my heart for snails, and there's a snail on all sides of the mug. There's one inside, there's one there, there's one on the back. And there is also one at the bottom of the mug, but I can't show you that because I'll dump hot tea all over me. But that's one. And then this one is a color changing mug. Um, all of the turquoise stuff is black when it's cold, and it's turquoise when it's hot.
Huh.
And I frequently wait until this row of leaves turns black, and then I can tell that my drink won't scorch me, but it'll still be warm because these ones are still not black yet. The more I'm sipping on this, the more I'm tasting that the tannins are kind of working with the fruity vibe. So it's like, instead of tasting it and going, oh, this tea is kind of almost tart because it has the tannins in it, it's reading as part of the fruit flavor. I really like it though. It's a very good one. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing this one.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I
Yes,
thought,
thank you.
I do like this one. And like I say, the Oliver Pluff teas overall, there's a number of different ones that I like. So
Now, did you have to order it online or did you find it somewhere local?
this was ordered online. Actually, my wife, Mary Beth, found these Oliver Pluff teas and ordered some. And then we started drinking some different ones and decided we really liked them. And so I had ordered a fairly large bag of the Earl Grey because I really liked the Earl Grey. I mean, when you open the bag, the smell is so good. And when you look at the leaves, it's like all these full leaf in the tea.
Nice.
None of it's broken up like at all. It's like these perfect leaves.
Like, how did they get it to your house
Yeah,
without any of it breaking?
it's hard to imagine.
So I'm thinking that our other tea has probably finished steeping by now for all three of us, right?
Yep. Yep.
Mug.
Okay.
I removed my tea bag from that one just a minute ago. I had tried to time it and
So this second tea we have is a white tea, jasmine white tea, and it is called Zen Pearls. It's from David's Tea Company. They're a Canadian tea company, but the Boston connection is that the first time I tried any tea from David's Tea Company was when I visited my brother who lives in Boston, and they used to have a David's Tea store there. They don't anymore. They closed all their US stores, but they did.
so they had a brick and mortar
They did. They
store.
had a
Wow.
brick and mortar
Wow.
store in Boston. So that was when I started kind of falling in love with loose leaf tea, and that's why most of my teas come from them actually, because I would load up my suitcase whenever I'd go visit my brother.
This one is so interesting. Why, looking at the color change, why is it called a white tea?
So white tea is picked when the leaves on the tea plant are just like these silvery white little buds, and it's not oxidized for nearly as long, so it doesn't fully turn black like a black tea does, because it hasn't had as long of a time to age.
Okay. And what would a little bit of sugar bring out in this particular one? I know you were very partial to this tea, and I can
So
kind of see why.
yeah, it's got this complex floral kind of flavor to it, from the jasmine. And I think it's just a good tea. I mean, it will unfurl entirely into full leaves, but when you look at them dry, they look like little round balls, and that's why it's called Zen Pearls, because somebody went by hand and took the tea leaves and rolled them into a tiny little ball and then set it aside to dry, and then picked up the next leaf and rolled it into a tiny little ball, set it off to dry. It's like an old artisanal tea tradition of doing it that way.
And there are a number of tea makers, I think, who make a jasmine pearl tea.
Yes.
And so that's a common flavoring in the pearl teas. It seems like these jasmine pearl. And this is a very good one. I've had other jasmine pearl teas and I do like them. This is very good. I have never had this one before.
Yeah, and one of the other things I noticed with this tea that I like so much about it is, um, if you've ever heard the term being tea drunk, um, there's a lot of L-theanine compound in certain teas. And in some cases, if you consume too much of teas that have lots of L-theanine in them, you can get sort of a euphoric, dizzy kind of feeling. This one does not do that, but it does have a lot more L-theanine in it, and it has like just the right amount that it feels very calming to my nervous system when I drink this tea. It just kind of like quiets some of that anxiety in the back of my head a little bit.
I know
So,
I can kind of feel that.
yeah, you
I'm
take a sip,
definitely
and like by the time it hits the back of your throat, you're feeling like it's almost like somebody just put a silk pillow behind your head.
I'm the poster child for ADHD. And this definitely, quiets the static a little bit.
Yeah, it's not gonna completely quiet it, because it would be marketed very differently if it was,
Absolutely.
one of those like get you tea drunk kind of things. But no, it's definitely got more of that L-theanine compound in it.
Well, the funny thing about theanine is there have been more recent studies on theanine that seem to indicate it can help with a lot of different things, actually. And it also appeared to, in both mouse models and primate models, it seemed like as a sort of single supplement, it extended lifespan in those. Interestingly enough, it's kind of this funny thing.
You found
I
my
don't.
secret, Greg. Now you know why I couldn't let you take the whole container home. You don't look like this at my age. At 432 years old, you don't look this good.
So the jasmine pearl tea
Don't I look good for
keeps you
432?
youthful. Keeps you youthful. You
Don't
do.
look a day over 212.
Aw, I'm keeping you.
Hey, hey, isn't that the boiling point of water?
Is that why I pulled that number out of thin air, out of the vapor?
That's that's a
Out of
little
the vapor, did you distill it? Are you
that's
distilling facts over there?
now that's a little too high a temperature for a white tea, Jonathan.
Yeah, so what would happen if I just boiled some water and tried to make this tea in it?
So it would make it more bitter, and you wouldn't taste a lot of those delicate, nuanced, complex flavors that you're tasting. Um, this tea is also really good made cold brew in the refrigerator overnight. Because the colder the temperature for this one, the more of those complex flavors you get. If you were to boil the water, it would just taste like any other tea. It would just taste like tea. You wouldn't taste nearly so much of the jasmine, and you wouldn't taste the floral notes that the tea itself has in addition to the jasmine.
They
So,
should put
so
that
what
on the
does
box.
yeah, what does David's tea say in terms of steeping instructions for this?
They said to do 4 to 7 minutes and 185
Okay.
Fahrenheit. And they do give you that in Celsius because they're a Canadian company, but I don't have the package in the room with me.
I found this in our appliances, and it has exactly one setting on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I eyeballed it. I had a student tell me that about an area problem that I just graded. Just an answer written down that
I eyeballed it.
I eyeballed it was the work that they wrote for the problem.
That's really hard to do with temperature. I'm
Yeah,
impressed if you can eyeball the temperature.
I'm gonna say I hit it exactly.
You
But
know,
speaking of numbers and eyeballing your math homework and calculating temperatures in Fahrenheit and Celsius, did you have some tea for us for the math department, Jonathan?
Wow, that must have been the old invention it because it was a great segue. Um, yes.
Look it up, listen to the podcasts if you want to know more about it and Segway.
So I just wanted to come here and say for the first time in maybe forever, the math department is offering a winter intercession class, whether it runs or not, who knows. Um, your husband actually said the first time is usually for uh, advertising and getting it out there, and then the second time is when it runs. And I'm trying to advertise and get it out there, so the first time is when it runs. But it's a modern college mathematics course, a 161, which is good for your non-STEM majors out there. But I didn't just want to say, hey, this is what we're doing. I wanted to say that making a winter intercession class is kind of fun. And if you're in a position to maybe try to create one out of a class that you currently have, it turns out that the secret key is that you can get a 16-day semester calendar for winter that correlates to your 16 weeks of an online course, for instance, and just make every day a full week. So if you're teaching a course where 1 week could conceivably be taught in a day, they could do Monday through Friday, take off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and bam, the course just writes itself. But one thing that I think everyone should know about winter classes, unless I've been misinformed, there is no financial aid available. So only students who are able to pay out of pocket are able to take winter classes, which is why we focused on Math 161, because that book is written by Patrick and it is absolutely free to the students. So no cost to the students outside of tuition for the modern math course.
That's always a good one when you can
No,
make the sell of we made this as inexpensive as possible for you.
but no financial aid help. Boy, that could make it a really cold winter.
Knowing that, looking at the winter classes that do run and actually get, a dozen or more students, that's very impressive to be able to not only deliver that, but deliver it successfully.
Which classes do run? You must be aware of which ones do, yes? Maybe?
Oh, I can't think of it right now.
Okay, I just
I know
wonder.
there was at least one though. I won't name the person because I don't want everyone rushing to her and saying, give me some advice too. But I got some advice on running a winter course from someone last year who was right in the middle of it. One of the downsides, obviously, is that's when we're supposed to be on break and, tuned out of our emails that 5, 6 weeks, however long we have between semesters. And that feels wishful thinking on my part to say 6 weeks, but um, you do have to be, especially in a course like that, available to the students um,
A
pretty much
lot.
all day, every day.
So what
Yeah.
date does that course start this
So
winter?
the exact date is not something that I prepared because I was so focused on preparing the tea. But I
It's
do
right
know
after finals week.
that, yeah, the finals week ends, and then that Monday, the winter classes
That
begin. And
Yeah, I
they're
think
that's
it's the day
scheduled
that our grades are
through
due.
the period of time where the school's actually closed. The classes are running through that.
And they're all
Definitive.
online, right? There's
Yeah,
nothing face to face.
as far as I know, they are all online.
that's what I wondered if it started immediately after finals week, really,
Yeah,
because
so
Yes.
I
there's
don't
no
know
break for
exactly what
someone
that
doing
date is
winter on
either,
either
but
end.
yeah.
Yeah, the idea is grades are due, classes start same day.
But yeah, that's my tea.
I think that's some
Sorry
pretty
for
hot tea
spilling.
you got there.
It will melt the snow. That
I'm really enjoying this Zen Pearl tea. It's quite good. I think I might have to get some of this.
Yeah,
you
this is
said you said that the containers of this last forever because of
you
how many
use so
times.
little and you can re-steep it so much. Um, and to be honest, I haven't bought this tea. I have been able to save up my rewards on David's Tea's website. You got points towards a free bag of tea of your choosing. And because this was one of the pricier teas that they had, I would always wait till I had my rewards points and then I would buy this. I want to say that it used to be around like $15 for a 2-ounce bag.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's, rolled by hand into those pearls,
Yeah.
I would think that would be a more expensive tea, no matter where you purchased it.
And they used to have a very similar green tea that they called their butterfly jasmine. And instead of it being rolled into little balls, they said it was rolled into butterflies, although I think you have to use more imagination to imagine that that shape was a butterfly. And to me, it looked like when you start to roll a ball of yarn, like you might start it over 2 fingers and then you've got a loop and then you like turn it sideways and start wrapping the other way. That's it. That if you think that looks like a butterfly, then I guess that it looked like a butterfly. But if you prefer green tea over white, they did have a green version. And then they also had a tea called Zamba pearls, or maybe it was an African. I'm not sure, but they called it Zamba pearls because it had it was black tea, but given the same roll it up tightly and scent it with jasmine treatment. So yeah, they used to have 3 different choices of extremely similar teas, but the white was my favorite.
I ran out of the white tea, so I've had to go back to the mango, and it's sat for a while, and it's still good.
I was thinking the same thing because I actually drank the Zen Pearl and this sat. And then as I was drinking, the other thing it made me think was, you know, mango teas, fruity flavored teas with a little sweetener in them really make great iced teas too.
Yes.
And
My
yeah,
secret to iced tea, 10 Lipton bags tied together, and so frying pan with just enough water to cover them, boil it up so that it's super, super, super concentrated, and meanwhile have the pitcher filled with ice and water, uh, sugar in the hot side, stir it together, and then pour it over the ice. So what have I done wrong there?
I give you many points for preparation, but I take them all away because it's Lipton.
I'm going to agree with that, Colin.
I also want to say anyone watching that wants to contribute to the capstone STEM course in the spring, feel free to make a video and I'll fit it in the course somewhere. Anything you think they might want to know about grad school in your particular fields, I'd be happy to put it in. Um, if there's any YouTube videos you think would be good about STEM careers and higher education, I can definitely take some suggestions on those too. So another extra plug before I run out of plug time.
And you know what? You're also welcome to come back if you want to plug something else again.
It's wonderful. Maybe we'll do a matcha. And
Oh, I have so many flavored matchas, and I think you would actually like them.
So, should we wrap up and say thank you for joining us
Yeah,
on
that's a
this
good idea.
episode of Spilling the Tea? This is Greg Barton and
Laura Parrilla, and
John Wilbruda.
we'd like to wish you all a terrific rest of your day.